Hello, bird watcher, I am Ruben, the robot. Welcome back to Learning to Bird. I am going to talk about some of the general characteristics of bird migration. There is a lot of information that robots and humans cannot explain about bird migration. There is long and short-range migration. Birds migrate all over the world. Long migrating birds seek environments that have abundant resources and suitable nesting locations. Birds may migrate thousands of miles to search for the proper place to nest and raise their young. In other situations, the same bird may live in a region that offers suitable conditions all year, and it may not migrate long distances. There are over 200 species that may make it as far north as the Arctic Wildlife Refuge. Birds then disperse to North America, South America, Africa, and Asia to avoid the cold winters. Of the 200-plus bird species on the Arctic Refuge bird list, I have seen about 90 of them in our local area. First, let's look at the white ground sparrow. It nests in the summer in the far north. It then disperses all over the North American continent when the extreme cold weather forces it south. In some cases, this bird stays year-round, utilizing short-distance migration up or down elevation in the Rocky Mountains. The range map shows this in the orange color. Birds oftentimes use general paths of migration. We have 4 simple examples in North America. I call these paths flyways. The coastal flyways are for birds that prefer the coast over being inland. The Rocky Mountains are a large enough natural barrier to divide the inland flyways. Depending on the species, it may use more than one flyway like the osprey to disperse over a broad region. In March, not one osprey, but a nesting pair, come to the High Plain Environmental Center. They like it here because of the abundance of fish. They eat almost entirely a fish diet. The birds are amazing anglers, and have special talents to carry the fish streamlined with their bodies. They have everything they need here to nest. By the end of the summer, the younger bird spreads its wings and flaps them to prepare for its first flight. This is a rough-legged hawk. It hunts small mammals in the north. When the snow comes, it migrates south in order to find food. Sharp-shinned and Cooper's hawks hunt mostly other birds. These northern harriers have a mixed diet. The SWAINSON'S hawk spends the winters way south. It is a true long migration example. Other birds migrate looking for open water. The great blue heron and the white pelican are good examples of birds that actively fish in the High Plains Environmental Center. Remember to move slowly when viewing them and you will see them in action. For smaller birds, they follow the blooming native plants. These native plants attract native insects. The High Plains Environmental Center uses the native plants to ensure the native balance continues to exist. It is important to provide natural habitats for these birds to stop and rest during their long migrations. Some feed on the seeds or nectar of the plants. Others feed on the insects attracted to the native plants. Hummingbirds are hard to identify, but I believe that I have seen rufous, calliope, and broad-tailed hummingbirds in the High Plains Environmental Center. The hummingbirds feed on nectar and insects. They are territorial. I see the same hummingbird in the same area at sunrise during migration. As with most bird species, the males are more vibrant. The male hummingbirds are the ones with the colorful throats. Birds are usually distinguished as male, female, or adolescent. Then, some bird species will also have breeding plumage, light phase, and dark phase. So the same species may have many different appearances. The first few years of birding are the most frustrating and most rewarding. It takes time to learn different species, and different appearances within the same species. It becomes easier with practice and technique. Because McWhinney and the High Plains Environmental Center preserve nature within suburban development, we have access to nature at our front door. The management of this resource provides an amazing opportunity to see birds large and small. Migration is hard to explain because robots and humans do not know everything about the birds. Each year, birds migrate like they have for many generations. Many general guidelines are followed repetitively and make sense about migration. Scientists prove that many species follow the guidelines closely each year with GPS sensors. Sightings and technology have provided us with the range maps that we have. A good example of migration is the geese. They make long-distance flights in the V pattern, usually at night. Many birds migrate at night and feed and rest during the day. Sometimes, birds are forced off of their normal migration patterns by weather. A good example was when the brant goose arrived at the High Plains Environmental Center. The brant goose is most commonly associated with the Pacific Flyway. The brant goose is uncommon inland this far. Many people noticed the sighting on the online resources, and came from around the state to see the bird at the High Plains Environmental Center. There is not a specific time for migration in the spring or fall. Weather patterns affect migration directly. So, migration is a mysterious pattern that is both predictable and unpredictable. Our unique location provides opportunities to see long-distance migrants and short-distance migrants. Over 450 species of birds have been identified in Colorado. Many of those species are viewed every year. Some of those species get off track because difficult weather patterns and end up just visiting for a season. This is what is exciting about migration time. You never know what you may see. The High Plains Environmental Center and McWhinney work hard to integrate nature and community. On April 22, 2013, this was highlighted by a late spring snowstorm that forced many species of birds down from migration. They spent the next few days resting and feeding in our neighborhood. Here are a few examples of the birds that I saw for those few days. I hope that you have enjoyed this introduction to birds. Birding is great because being outside is healthy. If I were a human, I would bird even more. I wish I had more time to discuss the amazing birds and their behavior, but I need to recharge my batteries so that I am ready for spring migration. I would like to thank the High Plains Environmental Center and McWhinney for allowing nature to flourish in Centera. Learning about birds is a fun way to explore nature. Migration is fun, because you never know what you might see. This is Ruben, the robot, signing out. Good luck with your bird watching.